let me do it for 15 minutes. So I might have to stop it and do 2 sessions if I have to. Okay, so everyone has these notes. And this is called, we're talking about function notation. It's just, again, symbols in math. Once you know what they mean, then it really helps your understanding. So what this is saying is this F is just the name of the function. Other letters that they use quite a bit besides F, other letters that they use are other letters for F. A lot of times they use H and they use G. They technically can use any letter here, but these are the 3 that they use the most. Okay. Then this X, this tells you what the X is, the input. Okay, that tells you that the X is the input. And then this here, this tells you what the function's doing to the X. And what this is saying, it says that this function multiplies the input value by 2. And this is actually what we call the output value, right? Now, how do we say this? I know a lot of times you guys think of this as multiplication because of the parentheses, but it's not. We read this as f of x, or the value of f at x. So we read this as f of x. Hold on, where's my other pen? I don't know. Or the value, can you guys see this? The value of f at x. So you can read it, f of x, or the value of f at x. I don't know where my other pen is. Okay. And then it says, go ahead.
It's just the number in the middle, the value and...
Oh, of? So, sorry, this one? That word? So, OF, sorry. Okay, and then what is F? And that is a function. So all this is saying is that we have a function. We have some type of equation that's a function. Okay, now what part is the input? Again, in that slideshow we saw, which one was changing each time? And that would be your X. So your X is your input, okay? And then which part represents the output? This 2X, that f of x. So the result here represents your output. So if you have an input, remember when we were talking about input and output? Well, our input is the x, the output is the y. Now what about domain and range? The input is your domain, the output is your range. Then when we use for our function notation, our input is x, the output is whatever f of x equals. Okay. So we're going to look down here. I know right now this is still a little blurry, but we're going to look down here and it says let f of t be the outside temperature in Fahrenheit T hours after 6 a.m. Explain the meaning of each statement. So if we have f of 0 equals 58, remember this is the f of t. That t means the time after 6 a.m. So what do you guys think that 0 represents, and what do you think that 58 represents?
Is it like the starting temperature?
Yes. So what time is this? If it's at 0, what time of day is it?
12 a.m.
6 a.m. Good. So at starting temperature, excellent. So at 6 a.m. it is, what's the degrees?
58 degrees.
Good. So that's 6 a.m. So this is saying at T hours. So this is saying at 6 a.m. It's 58 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's what that is saying. So at the zero time, 0 hours, so 0 hours, it's 58 degrees. So when they start talking about that. Now this one is saying f of 3 is less than f of 9. Now if we're talking about the time, that 3 is representing 3 hours after 6 a.m., which is, what time is it 3 hours after 6 a.m.?
9 a.m.
9 a.m.
Good, so that's 9 a.m. So this is 3 hours after. And this is 9 hours after, which is what? 9 hours after. So 9 hours after
3 o'clock.
3 p.m. Yep. And wouldn't that make sense that the 9 a.m. temperature is less than the 3 p.m. temperature? And they're like, oh, I don't know. Most times, unless there's some huge storm or something going on. But the 9 a.m. temperature would be less than the 3 p.m. temperature. Okay, so let's look at these. These are similar to what we did in the slideshow. So plug in a number for x to evaluate the function. Now, to evaluate the function means just to simplify the function, okay? So when this says f of x equals x plus 7, and then they have f of 5, or they say, that might even say, I know in Delta Math, it says find f of 5. And sometimes they'll use a lowercase f and sometimes a capital F. When it says find f of 5, that means same thing. You're putting in the 5 for x. So you're replacing the x. Hold on, I got to turn my camera on. The x for 5. And then you're just simplifying. So 5 plus 7 is 12. Your final answer will look like this. F of 5 equals 12. That doesn't look like a 5. That's a 5. So all we're doing is replacing that f in for x and then simplifying it. Okay? Now watch number 2 because of the squaring. F of 4, so we want to find f of negative 4. So f of negative 4. Now be careful. This x is squared, so you need the x equals negative 4. You need parentheses. So negative 4, parentheses, and then squared, minus a negative 4. Now, what's negative 4 squared? Like a negative 4 times negative 4.
Negative 16.
Okay, is it negative 16 or positive 16?
Positive.
Okay, so a positive 16. Because if you do a negative times a negative, it'll be positive. So this is going to be a positive 16. And this is a minus a negative 4, which adding the opposite, which that makes plus 4. And then so when x is negative 4, the result, the output is positive 20. Okay, so all this is saying, all this function notation is telling us is what number to use for x. Okay. Now I want to tell you something real quick here. Tell me if these two would represent the same answer. Would this and this give us the same result? Okay, with these two, if I drop my parentheses, will this give us the same result?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yes.
I just don't think so because it's a different thing then. That's usually for a reason then.
Right.
Yeah, I think not.
Okay. What is this 2 is only squaring the 4. Like if it was 20 minus 4 squared, you would just square the 4, right? And make that 16 and make it 20 minus 16. So this is actually a negative 16 and this is a positive 16. So parentheses do matter. If it's saying x and that whole x is negative 4, make sure you put your parentheses in there. Okay? Okay, we'll come back to that. All right, number 3, f of negative 5. So we're putting a negative 5 into our equation here. So f of negative 5, 2 times negative 5 squared, because you're only squaring the x. Have you guys squared in 7th grade? I hope. Yes or no? You guys have been squaring numbers, correct?
Yes.
Okay. It's like, whoop. And if not, then it's just that number times itself. So plug it in, and then, so you want to substitute it in, and then work it. Now, negative 5 squared is 25. So that's going to be 25. Plus 4 times a negative 5, which is a negative 20. And you might have already done this in one step here, but I went ahead and did it so people can see where I'm getting my numbers. So that's going to be 50 minus 20 minus 9. 50 minus 20 is 30, minus 9 is 21. Okay. Okay, do you want to try 4 on your own?
Sure.
Sure. Good answer. I'll put it on a post-it note. So you're replacing the negative 8 in for x. Watch those negatives. It's a negative half and a negative 8. So don't drop that negative. Okay. So you want to call out what they got as their final solution? You can just unmute and say it if you want. Okay, Sophie, looks like you're putting up 13. Okay, good. All right, so because negative 1/2 times negative 8, that's a positive 4 plus 9, and that's going to be 13. Okay, so what we're doing here, all we're doing, if it says find f of 5 or find f of negative 5, we're just putting in negative 5 for the x. We're just replacing it. So this is your input, your negative 8 your input, and in this equation then, it'll be your output is 13. So if we had to graph that, that would be the ordered pair negative 8, 13. Okay, now we're
I'm still writing the report because I was a little bit had to write everything, so then I can copy you.
Oh, gotcha. Sorry. Okay, for the recording, I'm going to stop and then record the last two.